Good to know. Thank you for joining up with us here at Magic is Life. So next up on our deck building today is Reckless Rage, which is standard legal for our latest subscriber. It's 1 red mana, instant. Reckless Rage deals 4 damage to target creature you don't control and 2 damage to target creature you do control. This card's really good in limited, and it's going to be good in EDH, specifically the build that we're putting together, because we are looking to take advantage of enraged triggers. So in EDH, it has the same obstacle that it does in Rivals of Ixalan Limited, and the fact that there's going to be a lot of creatures that are too big to simply die from 4 damage. And at the same time, it does have the limitation that your opponent has to have something in play for you to target, something that you can target that doesn't have hexproof, etc. And at the same time, you have to have something in play in order to play this card. But in those circumstances, this is going to be a super value card. So I think it's going to be common enough that it's worth putting in your deck. And so this is going in our removal pile for the time being. I'm setting aside some mana base cards because mana bases are super flexible. Okay, that's a good question, Magic is Life. And right now, our channel's actually been going for a few months, so we don't have a set system in place. I'm thinking about moving this to every Thursday and Friday. I have a backlog of decks to build. It's about a dozen or so long. And don't apologize. I love when people interact with me on chat. So please feel free to throw questions at me. I've been playing this game for about 20 years now. I have tons of knowledge. I'm just looking for different ways to put it out there for people to digest and really take advantage of. Next up is Krosan Restorer. It's a mana ramp card, costs 3 mana total, 2 colorless and a green, 1/2 Druid. Has the ability to tap, untap target land, or with Threshold, which is an old school ability, that you can only activate Threshold abilities when there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard. You have the ability to tap to untap up to 3 target lands. So that's a lot of value there. 3 mana to have the ability to untap a land, that's fine mana ramp. But when it comes to being able to pay 3 mana and then get 3 mana back, that's going to let us ramp out Gishath on, say, turn 4 or 5. That's really powerful. Now, at the same time, this is creature mana ramp, so it is fragile and could potentially die from our incremental damage that we're looking to do with Enrage. So it's not exactly on the top of the pile when it comes to our prospective mana ramp cards. Well, welcome to the community, Magic is Life. There's a lot to learn, but at the same time, what I love about this game is it's simple to start and then it's complex to master. And I think that if you take the time to really study up, you're going to excel in the game, just like I think we all did at one point or another. Next up is Forerunner of the Empire. It's 4 mana total, 3 colorless and a red, 1/3 human soldier. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Whenever a dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you may have this creature deal 1 damage to each creature. So we've got our incremental damage for our enraged triggers, and he's a tutor spell for 4 mana. This guy's outstanding. He's an enabler for the Pyro or Polyraptor combo in Limited. and he's going to do a ton of work for us here in Commander. Now, many of these creatures, I've made note that if it's not a dinosaur, it doesn't synergize with our tribal strategy. This guy is the exception to the rule because he gives us the synergy for our dinosaurs tribal strategy. So must have. This is going in the deck without a doubt, period. Not to mention, in EDH, this is a singleton format. So any tutor will be way more powerful than any card draw spell. It's just an absolute must. Now this one is technically a tutor. It's a little bit on the expensive side, so it doesn't see a lot of play. It's the Priest of the Awakening Sun. 1 white mana, 1/1 human cleric. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal a dinosaur card from your hand. If you do, gain 2 life. Pay 3 colorless white and sacrifice him to search your library for a dinosaur card, put it into your hand. So he's a tutor card. Super important in EDH. Really the only reason I'm considering him. He's also has the ability, if you play him early, he can get you extra life to draw out the game. Cards that just gain you life don't win you the game. So that's just not good enough to play outright. That said, he's pretty versatile, and having a tutor in EDH is important. So yeah, it's Friday night. Magic is Life. I hope you have a blast. One of my fondest memories is playing at FNM at my first LGS way back in, say, Invasion Block. And we'd be there till 2 in the morning, just having an absolute ball. So I hope you have a good time. I tend to focus on budget builds on my channel. I'm going to be posting some deck texts over the next couple weeks. I have over 100 decks over the past 20 years that I've kept around. So you'll get to see a lot of the budget builds I put together, but at the same time, I'll talk about why I choose the cards I choose, because I do take into account what the commonly played strategies are, what the powerful builds are in the current metagame, and I adjust my deck builds accordingly. So that's kind of you're kind of exactly my target audience here. Next up, we've got Hull Reach, also from Invasion Block. Classic, good old days. 2 mana, red-green sorcery, choose 1, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or destroy 1 of each. Just a straight value card, 2 mana to nix 2 cards off the board is really, really good. So we'll put that in the removal pile. And if you're drafting tonight, make sure you pick up good 2-drops. Because, good, I'm glad to hear it, Magic is Life. You're a welcome addition to the community here. Otopec Huntmaster is also a 2-drop. 1 colorless, 1 red, 1/2 human shaman. Dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 colorless mana less to cast. Target dinosaur gains haste until end of turn. So he's mana ramp and he's a haste enabler. What concerns me about him is he's so fragile. So when I start dealing a ton of damage to everything on the board, he's going to get gone real fast. Classic card for standard dinosaurs. I don't know if it'll make the cut in EDH, because I'm really looking to focus on getting lands out faster that will be immune to my damage across the board. Raptor Hatchling, 2 mana total, 1 colorless and a red, 1/1 dinosaur, enrage. Whenever raptor hatchling is dealt damage, create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample. So this card is kind of iffy. It's a great value card, especially in limited. The problem with him is, unless I give him indestructible, he's not going to do enough for Elder Dragon Highlander. Now, oh, good to know. Thanks, Magic is Life. I will definitely look into what's going on there. So, when it comes to Raptor Hatchling, if I get something out that gives him indestructible, he's going to be a great value engine. Every time I deal damage across the board, or I get an Enrage Enabler, I can get that additional 3/3 creature. But if I wind up doing some sort of, oh, you know what? I found out what's going on with the audio. It's that there's a little bit of lag just from Twitch in general. I'm going to have to adjust the audio to match the lag, which will be interesting on my end. I hope you can bear with me for now. I'm just going to finish out this specific video. But it will be taken care of in the future. Okay, so Raptor Hatchling is going to get me a ton of value just by being able to go wide once I get my incremental damage strategy going. Sun Crown Hunters is 6 mana, 4 colorless, red, for a 5/4 dinosaur, enrage. Whenever Sun Crown Hunters is dealt damage, it deals 3 damage to target opponent. So this is a great reward and an alternate win condition. If just attacking with our dinosaurs isn't an option, we can potentially get our incremental damage strategy going, and at the same time we can burn out our opponent by lightning bolting them to death. So I really like Sun Crown Hunters as, you know, another way to win the game. Diversify our deck. Oh, mixing up the piles. Super powerful card for the deck right here is Ripjaw Raptor. 4 mana, 2 colorless, green, for a 4/5 dinosaur that has Enrage. Whenever it's dealt damage, you get to draw a card. That's going to be a huge reward for us once we really get our engine going. Can't say enough about this card. I mean, it's big for its cost, and it has a card draw ability. So Verdict Sun's Avatar is kind of iffy, but it's a great payoff, especially if it's something you hit off of Gishath's ability. You get to, well, let's go over its abilities. It's a 7 mana, 5 colorless, green, 5/5 dinosaur avatar. When it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So it's effectively an angelic chorus with legs. And that'll be really awesome with Gishath. If you're in a position where the game's winding down, maybe you're a little bit low on life total, and we're doing this mass damage to everyone and everything, this gives you the ability to sort of make back some of the life lost that way. Now, when it comes to instant speed removal, there's classic cards like Path to Exile, but there's also the fight mechanic. Fight mechanic's particularly good when it comes to dinosaurs because it triggers Enrage. So a good example here is Clear Shot from Eldritch Moon, which is not standard legal, so bear with me. It's 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a green instant. Target creature you control gains +1/+1 until end of turn and deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. This isn't straight up fight. It's one-sided, so that if for whatever reason you're punching out of your weight class it has the ability to make it so that your creature doesn't die. That said, I don't think it'll make the cut. As good as these cards are in limited, they're really, really good in limited. I don't think it'll make the cut because it won't trigger our enrage triggers. We'll put it in the removal pile for now, but it'll probably get cut. Rabid Bites is 2 mana, 1 colorless, and a green sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Once again, it's one-sided, which makes it much better in limited than it would be in this deck. Probably won't make the cut. Whereas Epic Confrontation is everything we want and more. It's 1 colorless and a green sorcery. Target creature you control gets +1/+2 until end of turn. It fights target creature you don't control. Awesome. That's what we're looking for. Savage Punch. First of all, I love this one just because the guy's got the. I love the picture of him punching a bear. Like this guy's got guts if he's going toe to toe with a bear, bare-fisted. 1 colorless and a green sorcery. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. Also has Ferocious. The creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn before it fights. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, almost all of our dinosaurs should be that big. So this just makes it so that they can punch out of their weight class. Appropriate for the art. See the Unwritten is a card that we're going to get a lot of value off of. It's 6 mana, 4 colorless, green sorcery. Reveal the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest into your graveyard. Or if it has Ferocious, or specifically if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, you may put 2 creature cards onto the battlefield instead of 1. So it's a little bit cheaper version of Gishath's ability, and considering the massive cost and power of our creatures, this could be a huge value boost. So we're running it as a way to cheat things into play. Of course, when it comes to creature-based mana ramp, we've got Druid of the Anima, 1 colorless and 1 green creature, elf druid, 1/1, and you can tap it to add a red, a green, or a white to your mana pool. So it's a mana dork that's color fixing for Naya colors, which is why we're considering it. It's super flexible, it gives you mana ramp, and it gives you exactly the mana you need. The downside, of course, it's not only is it not a dinosaur, but it only has 1 toughness. So once we start dealing damage to everything on the board, it's not going to last long. Kind of hoping for us to get down to... I'm holding out for cards like Explosive Vegetation, which will be coming a little bit later on in this pile of cards that we're considering. Next up is Torian Mauler. It is 3 casting cost, 2 colorless and a red, 2/2 shapeshifter with changeling. This card is every creature type at all times. So what that means is it's a dinosaur for our dinosaur tribal strategies. It's also a sliver if your opponents are playing sliver. It's also an elf. It's everything all at once. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Torian Mauler. So what that does is it can get really out of hand in Elder Dragon Highlander. I mean, you're talking about having typically 4-person pods. 3 people are going to be trying to race to build up their board state as quickly as possible. This guy is going to grow super fast and potentially become a very, very big dinosaur. Now, mind you, I like him better in, say, dragon tribal decks or pirate tribal decks. But whenever I'm building anything tribal that has red, this guy's always in contention. He's a very, very powerful card. Fires of Yavimaya. I like this card a lot, not only because it's an invasion block, which was probably the most fun I ever had at my LGS, but at the same time, it's a great value card. It's from a classic standard deck of the time. It's 3 mana total, 1 colorless, red-green enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. And that's what we're going for here. We just want the haste. It also has the ability, you can sacrifice it. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So it's creature pump, combat trick if we need it, but it's also super cheap haste enabler for all our creatures. Now, it's not quite Concordant Crossroads, but we're not comboing off with our creatures. We just want them. We just want the value of them hitting the board and hitting our opponents immediately. So, the fact that it's not symmetrical like Concordant Crossroads is actually makes it better for this deck. We will have other haste enablers in this deck, so I don't know if this one will make the cut, but it's definitely worthy of consideration. And great for budget builds. Okay. Next up, we've got Keeper of Progenitus. 4 mana, 3 colorless, and a green for a 1/3 elf druid. Whenever a player taps a mountain, forest, or plains for mana, that player adds 1 mana to his mana pool of any type that land produced. So he's a 4 mana, Naya-based mana doubler. That's powerful. That's really powerful. I don't know if he'd necessarily survive our incremental damage, but what a mana ramp spell. I mean, for Naya colors, that's beastie. Of course, I've been looking to put this together for a while, so for a while there, you could play silver bordered cards in EDH, and naturally I was looking at Feisty Stegosaurus. He is technically a dinosaur, but he's not going to make the cut this time. I love silver border cards, especially Grimlock. If you haven't seen Hazcon Grimlock, it's just such a sweet card. Savage Twister goes back to our first card we looked at, Starstorm, in the fact that it is a potential one-sided board wipe, deals damage to all creatures, giving us enraged triggers, and it's just straight up value and removal. It's X red-green sorcery, and it deals X damage to each creature. Straight up power. It's going to trigger all our enrage, and it's potentially a one-sided board wipe. Just too good not to have. That's exactly the type of spell we're looking for this deck. Dinosaur Stampede. This is a potential win more card that I loved in Limited. I love if you've got a dinosaur sub-theme and say your cube is cool. I don't know if it'll make the cut here. It's 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a red. Instant. Attacking creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn. Dinosaurs you control get trample until end of turn. It feels a little bit win more. When you're building a deck, you're going more for consistency. You want to hit your strategy points, and anything beyond that is potentially excessive and could bog down your deck until you get to the point where your strategy goes off. It just kind of gets in the way. I feel like this is one that is really good in Limited, but doesn't do enough in EDH to warrant a card slot. Next up, we have Harmonize. Harmonize is just good. It's 4 mana, 2 colorless, green, sorcery, draw 3 cards. you got to be able to draw cards in EDH. And in these 3 colors, there's not a lot to choose from. Harmonize is straight up just good value. It's going in the deck. Next up, we have one of the most powerful dinosaurs in the whole deck, Regisaur Alpha. He's 3 colorless, red-green for a 4/4 dinosaur. Other dinosaurs you control have haste, and when he enters the battlefield, you get a 3/3 dinosaur creature token with trample. Way above the vanilla test. And for those of us who are watching today who maybe aren't familiar with the term vanilla test, if a creature's power and toughness are the same number as its converted mana cost, or if you want to get really technical, if the combined power and toughness is double the creature's converted mana cost, then that's the threshold for whether or not it's good for the cost or not so good for the cost. This is 5 mana, but you get the 3/3 body on top of that, on top of the 4/4 body, making it be a total of 7 power and toughness each for 5 mana. And you're giving haste to everything, including that 3/3 body. Very good card, very good for this deck. It's going in. Okay, now we're getting into some incremental damage, and this is really where the meat of the deck is going to be. Right here we have Harbinger of the Hunt. He's 5 mana, 3 colorless, red-green for a 5/3 creature dragon with flying. You can pay 2 colorless and a red. He deals 1 damage to each creature without flying, or you could pay 2 colorless and a green, and he deals 1 damage to each creature with flying. This guy's going to be a great mana dump. He's going to trigger all of our enraged triggers, and he's going to put us, and while that's potentially destroying our creatures, it puts us in absolute control. We choose how often he goes off. So if we want to wipe out our opponent's, mana dorks, or they have tokens, or just some little unblockable pain in the butt cards, we choose how often we trigger these abilities and wipe out their stuff that we don't like, and keep not only keep our stuff, but get value off of our stuff. So even though he's technically not a dinosaur, kind of looks like one, he is definitely a worthy consideration for the deck. In fact, here's our all-star right here, Pyrohemia. This is a color-shifted version of a card from back in Urza Saga. I think it was actually a reprint in Urza Saga. It was originally back in Alpha Beta, called Pestilence. This is the exact same thing in red. It's 4 mana total, 2 colorless, red enchantment. At the beginning of the end step, if no creatures are on the battlefield, you sacrifice Pyrohemia. You can pay 1 red. It deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. That's going to get nuts with our enraged triggers, because what we're going to do is we could just continuously dump all our red mana into Pyrohemia, and not only is it going to start wiping out our opponent's boards, it's going to whittle down their life totals, but we're going to just do all of our enraged triggers. All of our creatures' enrage abilities are going to happen again and again and again and again, and that's where the real value engine comes in. This card is going to be the deck's all-star, period. In fact, this deck is more about Pyrohemia than it is about Gishath, Sun's Avatar. He's just there to facilitate. He's extra. Along those same lines, we have Breath of Daragaz. It's a 2 mana, 1 colorless, 1 red sorcery with Kicker 2. Breath of Daragaz deals 1 damage to each creature without flying and each player. If it was kicked, then it deals 4 damage to each creature and without flying and each player. So I like this not only for flavor purposes, because Daragaz is a dragon legend, but at the same time, I have control over whether or not I'm just wiping out all the 1/1s, or if my creatures are big enough that they'll survive the 4 damage, I can go ahead and wipe out, all moderate or less creatures. And for very reasonable 4 mana. 4 mana to everything and everyone. That's not to deal 4 damage to everything and everyone. That's pretty darn good. Return to Dust is a classic EDH staple. It costs 4 mana total, 2 colorless, white, instant. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast this spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other artifact or enchantment. So it's a classic 2-for-1. It's also super versatile because it's exiling it, getting past many of those indestructible or regeneration shields. Regeneration shields can be relevant on artifact creatures. Next up, we have Drover of the Mighty. This is just a classic dinosaur tribal card. Drover of the Mighty is 2 mana, 1 colorless and a green, 1/1 human druid. You get +2/+2 for as long as you control a dinosaur, and you can tap them to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. I like this guy for the deck because he grows once we get our dinosaur out, so that he's better able to survive our incremental damage. He's great value, getting 2 mana for what's potentially a 3/3, and on top of all that, he's mana ramp and color fixing. I mean, he does everything we want, nothing we don't. So I love this card. And of course, Savage Stomp is the all-star dinosaur removal spell. It is 3 converted mana cost, 2 colorless and a green sorcery. Savage Stomp deal costs 2 less to control if it targets a dinosaur you control. So this is effectively a 1 mana spell. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature fights target creature you don't control. Awesome. I mean, you get permanent growth on the creature that you already have in play, and you get to take out an opponent's creature, and on top of that, you get to trigger your Enrage. Just it's all of the things. This is the perfect removal spell for this deck. Also a good card. This is one of my favorite cards in EDH, Slice and Dice. It's 6 mana total, 4 colorless, red, sorcery. Slice and Dice deals 4 damage to each creature. So if I'm playing bigger creatures, it's potentially a one-sided board wipe, but at the same time, it also has cycling, which is 3 mana total, 2 colorless and a red. Discard this card from your hand and draw a card. When you cycle Slice and Dice, you may have it deal 1 damage to each creature. I love this because when you cycle it, it's an ability, so it cannot be countered. It's an Enrage enabler, wipes out tokens, and it replaces itself by allowing you to draw a card. It does all of the things that we want and nothing we don't. So I think it's going to be great in this deck. I'm also super stoked to be doing these videos because I have tons and tons and tons of decks that I want to build, but ever since I started the channel, I've been sort of waiting until I can set up these streams to do the deck building. And it's driving me a little bit crazy just looking at these piles of cards that I haven't gotten to build the decks for. So, Ambuscade. limited all-star in Hour of Devastation. It's 3 mana total, 2 colorless, and a green instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. It's a great card in limited because it allows your creature to sort of do one-sided fight and punch above its weight class. In this, though, I'm looking to get those enraged triggers, so I just want straight fight. I would rather have Pounce in the deck than Ambuscade, so it's probably getting cut. Sundering Growth is 2 Selesnya mana symbols, so it's green, white, green, white. Instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment, then populate, which is I create a token that's a copy of a creature token I control. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. It's basically a naturalize with upside, which is good, or disenchant, depending on what mana I have available. But at the same time, I have to already have one of those three dinosaur tokens in play for me to really get that upside. So I don't know if this will make the cut. I think I'd rather have a Croson Grip. Ancient Grudge, classic, modern card. It's 2 mana, 1 colorless and a red instant, destroy target artifact. It also has flashback of 1 green mana. So it's a classic 2-for-1. I can pay 3 mana to destroy 2 artifacts at my own discretion. At instant speed, no less. That's pretty darn good. And of course, the other best spot removal of all time, Swords to Plowshares. 1 white mana, instant, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. 1 white mana, exile. It's gone. Can't really argue with that. Of course, one of the new super good Commander staples from Commander 2016 is Sylvan Reclamation. 5 mana total, 3 colorless, green white instants, exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. It also has basic land cycling too, which is I can pay 2 colorless mana, pitch this card, and search my deck for any basic land and put it into my hand. Makes it color fixing and removal, and is just 2-for-1 at instant speed. Just the only downside is that it has restrictions on what color decks it can go in. That's it. This is a really good card. Ulvenwald Tracker is probably going to be our best removal spell in this deck. He's 1 green mana for a 1/1 human shaman. I can pay 1 colorless and a green. Tap, target creature I control fights another target creature. Awesome. I mean, as a fight card on a stick, I'll get my enraged triggers off of it. I'll get to do removal. It's fantastic. Oops. All right. Domri Raid is probably going to be the best planeswalker for this deck. He is 1 colorless, red-green, for a planeswalker that has 3 starting loyalty. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. So potential card draw. Or that's his +1 ability. His -2 ability is target creature you control fights another target creature. So repeatable removal. And his ultimate is -7. You get an emblem with creatures you control have double strike, trample, hexproof, and haste. So that's all the abilities we want for a dinosaur deck. This guy is card draw. He's removal. He's his ultimate is spectacular. He's super relevant for what we're trying to do, and so he is easily the best planeswalker for this deck, even over and above Huatli, which we'll get to some Huatlis later on. right now I'm just going to put this in the win more pile. I'm going to clean up these piles because they're kind of taking over the whole table here. Elemental Bond is a card I really like for this deck. It's 3 mana total, 2 colorless, and a green enchantment. Whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. That's a repeatable card draw engine, and it turns basically all of our dinosaurs into cantrips. Really, really good card. We're going to get a ton of value off of it, and because it's an enchantment, it's not a creature, it's not anything else, it's going to make it so that when we do our board wipes, this will survive, and we'll get to continue taking advantage of this. That's one thing you want to do when you're building an EDH deck, is you want to choose your cards so that they don't interact with your board wipes, or your board wipes specifically don't affect them. Next up, we have 6 Sense, 1 green mana, enchant aura. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Just repeatable card draw. Really good value in a creature-heavy deck where we're just going to be swinging at players all day long. Now, Garruk's Horde is an interesting one because we pay a lot of mana into it, and it's not going to synergize with our other dinosaurs. But the card advantage that we get in a creature-based deck is too good to just dismiss outright. It's 7 mana, 5 colorless, green, 7/7, creature, beast with trample. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. So basically, every time we cast something off the top of our deck, it gives us access to another card. And we can just continuously repeat that process. And 7/7 for 7, I mean, you're getting a big body on the board. I don't know if he'll make the cut, but he's very good. Garruk's Pack Leader is 5 mana, 4 colorless, and a green, 4/4 creature beast. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So much like Elemental Bond, this will draw us cards repeatedly. Unlike Elemental Bond, this will be affected by our board wipes, which is less than ideal. Soul of the Harvest is 6 mana, 4 colorless, green, for 6/6 elemental with trample. And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Repeatable card draw will survive a lot of our board wipes just because it's so big. So it's worth considering. I don't know if it's going to be the card we run. Now, getting back to the dinosaurs at last. Snapping Sailback is 5 mana, 4 colorless, and a green for a 4/4 dinosaur with flash. That's important because this guy's basically a combat trick. What you do is you put him in play once your opponent's declared attackers, but before you declare blockers. You smush something that is smaller, and in combat, it triggers his enrage. Whenever Snapping Sailback is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And that's also a super good ability because once we get our incremental damage effects going, we'll get the value of being able to just continuously grow this guy, and he's going to get bigger and bigger and more out of control. So that's really what we're going for with this guy. He's going to be a great addition to the deck, not only as a removal spell, but as a payoff to go really tall once we get our strategy going. Next up, we have Awakening Sun's Avatar. 8 mana, 5 colorless, white, white, white for a 7/7 dinosaur avatar. When Awakening Sun's avatar enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, destroy all non-dinosaur creatures. One-sided board wipes are good. Now, this has the additional requirement that you have to cast it from your hand, which hurts, honestly. It would be amazing if it would trigger off of Gishath's ability. That said, the ability to destroy all of my opponent's stuff and leave my stuff intact, basically winning me the game, and if I can get to enough mana to cast Gishath, I have enough mana to cast Awakening Sun's avatar. These are all really good. This is all the upsides that I want in an EDH card. So, yes, his mana cost is prohibitive, but at the same time, the payoff is worthwhile. This guy's going to be sweet in the deck. Got a couple repeats here. We'll skip these. Goring Ceratops is 7 mana, 5 colorless, white, white, for a 3/3 dinosaur that has double strike. Whenever Goring Ceratops attacks, others creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn. Goring Ceratops is super small for his mana costs. Even with double strike, only dealing 6 damage and only being able to absorb 3 damage isn't a lot. What I like about him is that if I have a really big board state, I have big creatures, giving them all double strike is going to be really good. And the fact that he synergizes with our other dinosaur strategies, I can play him off of Gishath's ability. I can tutor him up, and he will synergize really well with a couple other spells that I'm about to pull up here. Makes him potentially really good in this deck. I don't know about most, but in this deck. So I think he's a great buddy, almost a lieutenant for Gishath, and he's worth considering for this deck. Next up, we have Sunblessed Mount. It's 5 CMC, 3 colorless, red, white for a 4/4 dinosaur. When Sunblessed Mount enters the battlefield, you may search your library and/or graveyard for a card named Watley Dinosaur Knight, reveal it, and put that card into your hand. If you search your library, you may shuffle it. So this is good value. It's a tutor for one specific card to get us a Planeswalker from the Ixalan Planeswalker deck that will actually work really well in this strategy. So you pay 5 mana, you get your 4/4 dinosaur, search up your 6 mana Planeswalker, put her in play. Watley is 6 mana, 4 colorless, red, white, for a Planeswalker that starts with 4 loyalty, has a +2 ability, put 2 +1/+1 counters on 1 dinosaur you control. -3 ability, target dinosaur you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. And her ultimate is -7. Dinosaurs you control get +4/+4 until end of turn. Now, I'm going to go a little magical Christmas land with you, but bear with me because it's entirely viable with this deck. Say you play Sunblessed Mounts for 5 mana. Next turn, you hit your land drop. You play Watley, Dinosaur Knight, giving Sunblessed Mounts 2 +1/+1 counters. You're attacking with a 6/6 now. Next turn, maybe you play Goring Ceratops and give it 2 +1/+1 counters. Now you're attacking with a 10/10 with double strike and a 6/6 with double strike. Next turn, you play Gishath Sun's Avatar and give him 2 +1/+1 counters. he gets double strike from the Goring Ceratops, and you still have your Sunblessed Mount on the board, and things get nuts. Is that Magical Christmas Land? Of course it is. Absolutely. But having 3 cards that are entirely viable on their own and get really crazy when played in conjunction in your EDH deck is not a bad thing. It's worth running, and so I'm going to put all 3 of those cards in this deck because it's going to make Gishath sick. Next up, we have Bellowing Aegisaur. Bellowing Aegisaur is so good in this deck because it's 6 mana, 5 colorless, and a white. For a 3/5 dinosaur that has Enrage, whenever Bellowing Aegisaur is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. Oh crap! All our creatures get huge once we get Pyrohemia going. I mean, when we get all of our incremental damage going, this guy is going to protect all our other creatures, and on top of that, they're going to get huge. That's freaking awesome. Must have for this deck. Raging Swordtooth, 5 mana, 3 colorless, red-green, 5/5 dinosaur with trample. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each other creature. Sweet. We got our Enrage triggers. We get a 5/5 trampler for 5. No downside. Thundering Spineback. 7 mana, 5 colorless, green-green. For a 5/5 dinosaur, other creatures you control get +1/+1. So he's a lord, and he's a great mana dump. You can pay 5 colorless and a green to create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature token with trample. So he helps us go wide. We can dump mana into him, and those 3/3s become 4/4s just because Thundering Spineback is on the board. That's pretty good value there. He's a bomb and limited. I don't know if he's good enough. He's quite good enough for EDH, but when they're that good and limited, it's worth considering. Ranging Raptors is going to help us get all the mana we need. It's 3 mana total, 2 colorless and a green for a 2/3 dinosaur that has Enrage. Whenever Ranging Raptors is dealt damage, you may search your library for a basic land card and put it into play tapped. So he is an Enrage trigger, rampant growth. That is good. Once we get our Enrage enablers and incremental damage going, it's going to get us ramp. That consistency of being able to play all the lands we need is going to get us Gishath that much sooner. It's going to enable all our other triggers. Heck, we can just do this with Pyrohemia and start drawing all of the mountains out of our deck and then wind up doing massive Pyrohemia damage. He's a great target for our indestructibility cards as well, which we've done a couple of, but I know there's a few more coming in the piles coming up here. Mirage Mirror is an awesome card out of Hour of Devastation. It's 3 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2 mana. Mirage Mirror becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. That's a lot of versatility. Not only can this become another copy of our dinosaurs for our dinosaur strategy, it can also become a copy of our opponent's best stuff. It can also become a copy of equipment that grants indestructibility for when we're really going to deal tons of damage to the board. It can also become a copy of an enchantment that grants indestructibility. So there's tons and tons of possible benefits you can get out of this card. It's super versatile, and it's going to do super well in this deck. Speaking of mirrors, we have Mirror of the Forebearers. It's a 2 mana artifact. as it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Obviously, we're choosing dinosaurs. Pay 1 until end of turn. Mirror of the Forebears becomes a copy of creature you control of the chosen creature type, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. So this one's a little bit more narrow, but what I like about it is it's cheaper. And so it gives us the ability to get additional Ranging Raptors, Thundering Spinebacks, maybe not Regisaur Alphas, Sun Crown Hunters, etc. Now, you're not going to get the Enter the Battlefield effect off of it, but having the ability to have multiple copies of your best creature in EDH is really, really good. So that's going in. Next up, finally, we're getting to our land-based mana ramp. Let's Cultivate. Classic card. 2 colorless and a green. Sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Put 1 onto the battlefield, tapped, and the other into your hand. It's mana fixing. It's mana ramp. The mana ramp survives our board wipes. It's just, that's exactly what we're looking for. Same thing goes for Kodama's Reach. It's basically the exact same card with Arcane. 3 mana, 2 colorless and green, sorcery, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, and put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and the other 1 into your hand. Explosive Vegetation is 4 mana total, 3 colorless and a green, sorcery, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, and put them onto the battlefield tapped. Mana fixing, mana ramp, it's everything we want. Pillar of Origins is a new card. It's 2 colorless mana, artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type. So this is a tribal synergy payoff. It's a super versatile mana rock, basically. We'll be able to tap it for any color we need, and therefore it's good mana fixing. As long as we're going creature based, it's really good mana fixing and it's mana ramp. 2 mana being able to tap for any color is pretty good. And since it's not a creature, it will survive the majority of our board wipes. Kinjali's Caller. 1 white mana for a 0/3 human cleric. Dinosaur creatures or dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 colorless mana less to cast. Avacyn's Pilgrim. Green for 1 green mana for a 1/1 human monk. Tap, add 1 white mana to your mana pool. I mean, it's a value mana dork. It's really good for Selesnya colors. I don't know that it'll make the cut. Gruul Signet, though, is another thing entirely. It's 2 mana artifact. Pay 1 colorless and tap it to add a red-green to your mana pool. So it's color fixing, it's mana ramp, it survives our board wipes. Emerald Medallion's a little bit narrow. I don't know if it'll quite make the cut. It's 2 colorless mana artifact. Green spells you control cast 1 less to cast. Next up, we have Utopia Tree. 2 mana, 1 colorless and a green. Creature plant, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Oh, it's a 0/2. Back to our land mana ramp. Harrow is a 3 mana instance, 2 colorless and a green. As an additional cost to cast Harrow, sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, and put them into the battlefield. So the important thing to remember about this particular mana ramp spell is it's color fixing, but at the same time, it does not enter the battlefield tapped, making this effectively cost 1 mana. And it's an instant. I like it. I like it a lot. This one is very interesting because Sky Shroud Elf costs 2 mana, 1 colorless and a green for a 1/1 elf. You You could tap it to add 1 green mana to your mana pool, and at any time you can pay a colorless mana to add a white or a red to your mana pool. So this becomes a mana filter. This is the ultimate color fixing. It turns any mana you have into white or red mana that you may need. Awesome. It's really cool. I don't know if it'll survive our board wipe, so it may not make the cut, but it's a really, really good mana ramp for Naya colors in general. And mana fixing. It does it all. All right. Whisperer of the Wilds. 1 colorless and a green for a 0/2 human shaman. You can tap her to add 1 green mana to your mana pool. Ferocious. You can add 2 green mana to your mana pool as long as you have a creature in play that's power 4 or greater. So potential really good value there. Once again, won't survive our board wipes, so it's iffy. Score a Tribe Elder. Classic EDH card. It's 1 colorless and a green, 1/1 Snake Shaman. You can sacrifice him to search your library for a basic land card, and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. So he's another rampant growth for the deck. Awesome. Elvish Mystic. Turn 1 mana dork, 1 green mana, 1/1. Elf Druid, tap, add a green mana to your mana pool. Commune with Dinosaurs, 1 green mana sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a dinosaur or a land card from among them and put that card into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. That's a pretty good card selection spell. I'm not going to call it a card draw spell, but in a deck like this where we're going to need mana fixing and we're going to need to hit our dinosaur spells, ideally we want to curve out. That's pretty powerful. And then, of course, there's Land of War Elves. 1 green mana, 1/1 elf. Tap, add 1 green mana to your mana pool. And we're just about to the point where we hit our mana base here, so we're going to burn through these last couple cards real quick. Darksteel Ingot, 3 colorless mana, artifact. It's indestructible. Tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Just a generally good card. It's mana fixing, it's mana ramp, and it survives almost all board wipes. Commander Sphere. 3 colorless mana artifacts. Tap, add 1 mana of any color of your commander's color identity to your mana pool. And at any time you can sacrifice it to draw a card. So it's card draw, it's mana ramp, it taps for any color. Sol Ring, 1 mana, tap, add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. It's the best value in all of mana ramp, period. At least in Commander. Not Vine Mystic is an interesting one because it's Selesnya colors. That's red, green, white for a 2/2 Elf Druid. You can pay 1 colorless mana and tap him to add red, green, white to your mana pool. That's an interesting take on having mana fixing and being able to tap for 2 mana on a creature. So he's kind of neat. I thought he was worthy of consideration. Probably won't make the cut. I'm almost certainly going to go artifact and land ramp for this. Rampant Growth is the classic. They've named entire decks after this strategy. It's 1 colorless, 1 green sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it into the battlefield, tapped. It's just raw efficiency right there. Okay. Fintor Elder is 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a green for a 1/1 creature elf. Tap, add 2 green mana to your mana pool. Greenweaver Druid is basically the same thing. He's 3 mana total, 2 colorless and a green, 1/1 elf druid. Tap, add 2 green mana to your mana pool. Lost Diamonds is iffy. It's 2 colorless for artifact, enters the battlefield tapped. Tap to add 1 green mana to your mana pool. That's probably not going to make the cut. Rootborn Defenses, on the other hand, definitely has a chance to make the cut because it's 3 mana total, 2 colorless, and a white instant. Populate, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Really important. We can get another 3/3 dinosaur creature, but at the same time, it's most important when we survive board wipes. Surviving board wipes is just such a premium, especially in Elder Dragon Highlander. Overwhelming Stampede, if we just have a good board state, but for whatever reason it's a stalled, the game is stalled, this pushes through damage. It's 5 mana total, 3 colorless, green, sorcery until end of turn. Creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. This card wins games. Period. Might seem like a little bit of a win more in this deck, but when you're just trying to crank out creatures and turn them sideways, this is a card that puts your deck completely over the top. So in that regard, I love it. Next up, Teferi's Protection. If you didn't buy into Commander 2017, odds are this is not a budget card because this is super good. This is the best fog/protection for board wipe spell in the game. It's 2 colorless and a white instant. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you have protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Exile Teferi's Protection. So if we're considering Rootborn Defenses, Teferi's Protection is a must. It's going in this deck. Nahiri's Machinations is a card that I just really like. I'm hoping I can find a use for it in this deck, but we'll see. It's 1 colorless and a white enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Nahiri's Machinations deals 1 damage to target blocking creature. So this thing's awesome. Not only letting one of your creatures attack with impunity, no fear of dying in combat, but at the same time giving it indestructible until end of turn. So if you just really want to go nuts in your second main phase with additional damage to all creatures, it has that indestructibility, and you can move it around at no cost. It's just something you can do every single turn effectively at sorcery speed. Of course, there's Eros, God of Victory, 4 mana total, 2 colorless, red-whites, 7/4 legendary enchantment creature god. He's indestructible as long as your devotion to red and white is less than 7. Eros isn't a creature. Creatures you control have menace, prevent all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. So he's cool. You just get to attack in with impunity. When you go wide, you're effectively going twice as wide, and he's a big beastie. I don't know if he'll make the cut. I love this card. Anything that it has Boros colors, whether it be Naya, Boros, Mardu, etc. I always consider running this. Next up, we have Nissa, Genesis Mage, 7 mana total, 5 colorless, green for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker, +2 ability, untap up to 2 target creatures and up to 2 target lands. -3, target creature gets +5/+5 until end of turn. -10, look at the top 10 cards of your library. You may put any number of creature and/or land cards from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Okay, so this is a Planeswalker deck, Planeswalker, and unlike the other one, this one is 7 mana. Could potentially get us to playing Gishath next turn, but at that point, do we really necessarily need that extra boost? She does everything we want, though. Okay? She gives us +5/+5 on our Gishath. She gives... she protects herself by giving us pseudo-vigilance plus mana ramp. And of course, she cheats stuff into play. Is that reliable enough? I don't know. She's not one of my top cards for this deck, but I mean, it's what we're looking to do, right? So it's a maybe. Not a super strong maybe, but a maybe. Luxodon Warhammer is an equipment, artifact equipment for 3 colorless mana. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and has trample and lifelink. Equip cost of 3. So just a generally good value equipment right there. Always worthy of consideration. Doesn't really speak to the strategy of the deck though. Meals, Aria. Now this is an awesome Naya card. This is probably my favorite Naya card. It's red, green, white enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control if you control a creature with power 5 or greater. That's probably going to happen in this dinosaur deck. Then you gain 10 life if you control a creature with power 10 or greater. Then you win the game if you control a creature with power 20 or greater. Okay. Power 20 or greater might be out of reach in this deck. We just don't have that much creature pump, especially at instant speed. But being able to distribute the +1/+1 counters pretty consistently, that's good value. I don't know if it necessarily speaks to the strategy of the deck, but it's good value. So, and getting the extra 10 life every single turn, that will be terribly vexing for our opponents. So, I'll consider it. It may get cut. Samut, Voice of Dissent, is 5 mana, 3 colorless, red-green, for a 3/4 legendary human warrior with flash, double strike, vigilance, and haste. It's a lot of keywords. Other creatures you control have haste, and you can pay 1 white and tap her to untap target creature. Really good at messing up combat math, potentially a removal spell, and a haste enabler. This card is sweet. Now, it's not a dinosaur, so it doesn't necessarily play into our tribal strategy, but giving all of our creatures haste, giving one of them pseudo-vigilance, and getting all that value on a creature is pretty darn good and worthy of consideration for this deck. Duelist Heritage is one of my favorite cards in all of Commander. It's 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a white enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn. So I get to distribute double strike amongst my own creatures every time one of them attacks. I get to pick one, and it could potentially have double strike. That sounds good. And whenever one of my opponent's creatures attacks, if they aren't attacking me, and I think it's advantageous, I can give one of my opponent's creatures double strike until end of turn. That's awesome. That's sweet because I'm getting value literally on every attack step for the entire game. I like this card a lot. You'll see it in a lot of my white decks. Arlen Cord is 4 mana, 2 colorless, red-green for a 3/3, or a 3/3, yeah, for a 3 starting loyalty planeswalker. She has a +1 ability until end of turn. Up to 1 target creature gets +2/+2 and gains vigilance and haste. That sounds good. She has a 0 ability. Put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield and transform her. She transforms into Arlencord, Embraced by the Moon, with a +1 ability. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. -1 ability. Arlen, Enhanced by the Moon, deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Transform Arlen, Enhanced or Embraced by the Moon. And then her ultimate is -6. You gain an emblem with creatures you control have haste and tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. That's awesome. Turning all your creatures into removal and being able to burn your opponent rather than just attacking them. Haste Enabler as well. Just really good card. Does everything we want. One thing we don't, which is we really don't care about the 2/2 wolf token, but I'm not going to turn it down either. So it just really enhances our creatures in play and is potential removal with that lightning bolt ability. All right, I'm not really going to go too deep into the mana base. I've got some lands set aside for the deck. I'm going to set those aside, excuse me. Couple other cards I wanted to mention. Felwar Stone is a classic commander card. 2 mana artifacts. Tap, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color a land opponent controls could produce. I like this card in any EDH deck that's running 3 colors or more, because odds are you're going to be able to hit a color that you use. And it's super efficient. I mean, it's 2 mana, doesn't enter the battlefield tapped. You can tap it right away for colored mana. Awesome. Next up, we've got Hero's Blade. I like this specifically for its interaction with Gishath. It's 2 mana, artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+2. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Hero's Blade to it. Equip costs 4. Well, 2 mana effectively equip costs 0 when you play your Gishath, making him attack in for as a 10/8 Trample, Vigilance, Haste. That sounds pretty good. It's kind of a win more card. It really is best with Gishath, but yeah, it's kind of a win more card. Okay. Mixing my piles here. And then also some key cards for the deck that I just wanted to touch on real fast here is Enlightened Tutor. This deck needs Pyrohemia. Pyrohemia is the best card for this strategy. So Enlightened Tutor being able to tutor up Pyrohemia at instant speed is super important for this deck. Oh, let's put it here with card rust off, I guess. Heroic Intervention, still standard legal for Magic is Life, if he's still with us. 1 colorless and a green instant. Permanents you control have hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, helping us dodge board wipes and spot removal. Super important. And on the cheap. I already have Hull Breach in here. What am I doing? Toss that. Reforge the Soul. Poor Man's Wheel of Fortune. It's 5 mana, 3 colorless, red, sorcery, with a miracle cost of 1 colorless and 1 red. Each player discards his or her hand and draws 7 cards. Super important. Just getting you a full grip is always a good thing. Just play out your whole hand, get a full grip back. And on the cheap. Utility land. Actually, I'm going to pull those lands back and talk real quick about a couple utility lands that will be really good for this deck. One of which is Skarg the Rage Pits. You could tap it for 1 colorless mana, so it doesn't even enter the battlefield tapped. The only downside is it doesn't contribute to the color weight of your cards. You can pay 1 red, 1 green. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains trample until the end of turn. So if you're trying to force through damage with your big fat creatures, it's just absolutely stellar. Same thing goes for Kessig Wolf Run, only this allows you to pump the creature even more. It's a land, taps for 1 colorless mana. You could pay X, red, green, tap it. Target creature gets +X/+O and gains trampling until end of turn. Super good. Just finishes games. Another really good removal spell for green spot removal is Beast Within. 2 colorless and a green. Instant. Destroy target permanent. Its controller puts a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. This thing kills planeswalkers. This thing kills Maze of Ith. This thing kills anything that's giving you problems at instant speed. And yeah, they get a token, but it's just not going to amount to much, especially when you're dealing so much damage to everything on the board. So it's a good card. Good card to have. Removal. Green saw Zenith. Of course, with oh gosh, where's my copy of that? There's a land that's a creature card in addition to being a land. You could just pay 1 green and get it into play turn 1 with Green Sun's Zenith. Green Sun Zenith, in case you don't know, is X and a green sorcery. Search your library for a green creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library, shuffle Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library. So this is just a great tutor card. Repeatable, because it goes back into your deck when you're done and just finds you whatever dinosaur you need. Any green dinosaur you need, but still, that's a lot. And on top of all that, you get to do it over and over and over again. Another great land mana ramp spell, specifically for Commander, is Tempt with Discovery. 3 colorless and a green sorcery. Tempting Offer. Search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. Each opponent may search his or her library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. For each opponent who searches his or her library this way, search your library for a land card and put it onto the battlefield. Then each player who searched their library this way shuffles it. Awesome. First and foremost, you get to search for any land, whether it be Maze of Ith, Gaia's Cradle, Nixos, Shrine to Nyx, any land you want. It does not enter the battlefield tapped, so you can tap it for mana that same turn. And if your opponents get greedy, if they're looking for their own Maze of Ith, you can search up Strip Mine and get rid of it. It's freaking awesome. This is a great card for your mana ramp package in this deck. Gamble is classic, super economical tutor for the deck. 1 red mana, sorcery, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, discard a card at random, then shuffle your library. Is there a chance that you waste 1 red mana and a card on doing this? Yes. Is that likely at all? No. It's awesome. It gets you exactly what you need turn 1 if you get it in your opening hand. Fantastic. Here's one of my favorite cards for Gruul colors. It's Signal the Clans. 1 red, 1 green, instant. Search your library for 3 creature cards and reveal them. If you reveal 3 cards with different names, choose 1 at random and put that card into your hand. Shuffle the rest into your library. Super good tutor. Yes, you don't have absolute control But in a deck like this, we're going to have a ton of very viable threats, then it is a great tutor card. You're always going to get value off of this. Next up, we have Decimates. Classic Gruul removal. It's from Invasion Block, which seems to be coming up a lot in this video. It's 2 colorless, red-green sorcery. Destroy target artifacts, target creature, target enchantment, and target land. The problem with this card when it first came out in regular formats is there has to be one of each in play, otherwise all of its effect fizzles. In EDH though, where you've got 4 people playing, odds are you're going to have one of everything at all times. So it's really found a whole new life in Commander. It's freaking awesome. It's a 4-for-1. If 2-for-1s are good, 4-for-1s are better. Run it. Burgeoning, 1 green mana, enchantment. When an opponent plays a land, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Some of the best turn 1 mana ramp you could possibly ask for, especially in a multicolor deck. It's just too good. Too good. Court of Calling, X, green, instant with Convoke. Convoke is you can tap a creature to help pay for this spell. Each creature you tap while casting this spell pays for 1 colorless mana or 1 mana of that creature's color. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. That's just good. That's just real good. Play it at the end of your opponent's turn to cheat something into play by simply tapping down your creatures. That's how good that is. This is another one of my favorite green ramp spells. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to work in this deck. That said, it's Somberwald Sage, 3 mana total, 2 colorless and a green for 0/1, Human Druid. Tap, add 3 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to play creature spells. In creature-heavy decks, getting an extra 3 mana on from 1 3-mana spell is awesome. She's just awesome. She's a Gilded Lotus for your green creature spell decks, or your green creature decks. For 2 mana less. She's fantastic. I love this card. Probably won't make the cut in this deck, but I play it in many decks. Next up is a new card from Commander 2017, Kindred Boon, 4 mana, 2 colorless, white enchantment. As Kindred Boon enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Pay 1 colorless and a white to put a divinity counter on target creature you control of that chosen type. Each creature you control with a divinity counter on it gains indestructible. So this is going to be an awesome card in this deck because we're just going to give out divinity counters like candy to all of our dinosaurs, giving them all indestructible so that we can just dump damage on them, get all the enrage triggers, all of the enrage triggers, all day long, and there's no limitation based off of toughness. This card is going to be an absolute all-star in this deck. And then cards like Darksteel Plate, Hammer of Nazahan, equipment cards that you could attach to a creature to give them indestructible are particularly good in this deck as well. So now we're going to start narrowing this down. I came into this with an absolutely massive pile of cards that I had all these crazy ideas for this deck for so long. Now I'm going to sort of whittle this down to the cards that I actively want to put in the deck. So I've got all my piles sorted of different card types. I'm going to start with card draw, card advantage, card tutors. My goal is to whittle this down to 10. Court of Calling, Signal Clans, Gamble, Green Sun Zenith, Reforged Soul, Enlightened Tutor, Elemental Bonds, Harmonize are all stupid good. Sixth Sense, Commune with Dinosaurs are all quite good as well. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. 10 cards that let me find the cards I need or get me additional cards. And yeah, they don't have the same drawbacks that say Garruk's Horde, Garruk's Pack Leader, and Soul of the Harvest have. So I like these cards. These are probably going to be my card draw spells for this deck. Let's move that into view. That was the easy part. Now we're going to move on to... Let's move on to Mana Ramp. Mana Ramp, we've got Somberwald Sage, probably not going to make the cut. Burgeoning Edge, though. Attempt with Discovery, Felwar Stone, Moss Diamond, probably not going to make the cut. Greenweaver Druid. I don't even know why I pull some of these cards. Like, they're cute and all, but Findhorn Elder, not going to make the cut. Rampant Growth is a definite maybe. Not Mind Mystic is not. Soul Ring, probably. Almost. It's going to make the cut. It's Soul Ring. Commander Sphere, probably going to make the cut. Darksteel Ingot, just not quite good enough. Land of War Elves, Elvish Mystic, probably not going to make the cut. Sakura Tribe Elder, probably will, actually. Sakura Tribe Elder is actually strictly better than Rampant Growth because I can play him, I can potentially block something, and before damage hits the stack, activate his ability, getting you a little mini fog on top of your Rampant Growth ability. So it's just good. Whisper of the Wilds isn't going to make the cut. Sky Shroud Elves is tentatively going to make the cut just because it can filter all my mana and get me whatever mana I need. Haro is on the short list to make the cut. Utopia Tree, Emerald Medallion will not. Rule Signet. Somewhere around here I've got some extra Selesnya Signets and Boros Signets as well. I'm going to take those into consideration. Absence Pilgrim, Jolly's Caller, probably not. Pillar of Origins probably will. I don't know. That one's tricky because when it comes time to actually play your instants and sorceries, it doesn't help you at all. It doesn't give you any color fixing. It's no good. Explosive Vegetation and Kadama's Reach and Cultivate are must-haves. Over the Mighty is pretty good. Keeper of Progenitus, as much as I love doubling my mana, he's just too fragile. He's probably not going to make the cut. Same thing goes for Druid of Anima, Motorpack Huntmaster, Croson Restorer, Atsakan Seer. Cut them all. Cut them all. Get them out. Now, Regal Behemoth, on the other hand, that's going in the deck. Horizon Spellbomb, probably not. Night of the Stampede, probably not. And Thunderherd Migration is a definite maybe. So that cuts down at least half of the potential mana ramp we were looking at. There's a ton of great mana ramp when you're playing green and Commander, though. For real. Now, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, plus 2 more signets. That's 18. I could live with this being 12, but I got to cut something here. So I'm going to start with Drover of the Mighty, because as much as it does for us, it's as much as it does for us, it could still it'll still get wiped by our massive board wipes. So I'm going to cut that for now. Just doesn't do enough to justify how fragile it is. Pillar of Origins, I'm going to cut because it won't interact with our enchantments. It won't interact with our artifacts. It won't interact with our instants and sorceries. Sky Shroud Elf, I'm going to cut. I don't want to cut it, but I'm going to cut it. And Gruul Signet, I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut the Signets because I just have so many other very versatile and frankly more durable options for mana ramp here. So I'm going to cut the Signets. I may regret that in case I need color fixing, but because the majority of this is green, but right now I just really want to be able to avoid removal. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's right in the sweet spot area. That would give us 50 total mana sources. I like that. I like that for the deck. I'm going to go with 12 mana ramp spells, being Thunderherd Migration, Cultivate, Kadama's Reach, Explosive Vegetation, Harrow, Sakura Tribe Elder, Commander's Sphere, Soul Ring, Rampant Growth, Felwar Stone, Burgeoning, and Tempt with Discovery. That's the mana ramp package I've chosen for this deck. Now, next up is removal. I tend to go heavy on removal, just to mess with my opponents. I tend to hate when things are going well for my opponents. You know what I didn't pull for this is Blasphemous Act. When I finally get to playtest this and post the deck tech for it, this will almost certainly include Blasphemous Act. Just so you know, Blasphemous Act is going in this deck. All right, I'm going to start with the obvious because Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile are non-negotiable must-haves for this deck. I also really like Slice and Dice. Yes, it only deals 4 damage max, but that won't affect the majority of my creatures, and the ability to play it at instant speed, to trigger all my Enrage, wipe dorks and tokens, and replace itself, and it can't be countered. That's a lot going on there when you cycle it. So I really like Slice and Dice in this deck. Beast Within, just the versatility of being able to nix anything ever is awesome. Savage Stomp, 1 mana, get the +1/+1 counter, trigger my Enrage, and get removal. That's all good. Reckless Rage, I like. Well, no, Reckless Rage. Here's the problem with Reckless Rage is it's contingent on board state. So that's probably going to get cut. Next up, I really want to have more board wipes. So assuming I'm going to put Blasphemous Act in here, then I've got, what, 2 potential board wipes? That's just not good enough. So Starstorm and Savage Twister going in the deck, without a doubt. Decimate, is not quite a board wipe, but it's just so much card advantage. It's outstanding. Ulvenwald Tracker is repeatable. That's just a must-have. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus Blasphemous Act brings it up to 10. I've only got 4 potential board wipes. It's not terrible, though. I might just throw in Sylvan Reclamation, though, and Breath of Daragaz. Incendiary Command. I might go nuts and just really go 15 removal spells and make this really kind of a control-heavy creature deck. And I'm okay with that. Harbinger of the Hunt might be a little bit weak. I'm going to run it as a potential creature alternative for Pyrohemia that I can tutor up with like Court of Calling or, you know, my Green Sun Zenith, for example. So really, it doesn't even belong in this pile. That goes in the strategy enabler pile. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So I've got other removal spells that I could put in the deck. But for now, I'm just going to leave it with these 12. Maybe narrow it down a little bit more. But it's really hard to narrow down. Like, when you got cards of this quality, it's hard to narrow it down further. Okay. So, right now I've got got 34 cards out of 61, which means I have 27 card slots that I can fill with dinosaurs and enrage enablers and cards that give all my stuff indestructible. So let's start by getting out the really good enrage enablers. Harbinger of the Hunt is really good. Pyrohemia, really good. Pyrohemia is really good. Let's face it. Forerunner of the Empire, really good. Okay. So those 3 are absolute musts. They're going in the deck no matter what. On top of that, let's dig out some indestructible granting spells. Kindred Boon is the first one that comes to mind because it's going to give indestructible to as many creatures as we want, as long as we pay the mana into it. Shielded by Faith is indestructible that I can move around at no cost. I like that. I like that a lot. Also, Teferi's Protection. Just do a separate pile of indestructible stuff. And even Heroic Intervention. If I really want to go deep into it, we could do Root Board Defenses, or there's a new one that's much like Root Board Defenses in Oath of the Gatewatch, only instead of populate, it gives your creatures +1/+0. That would be good in this deck. Because what you can do is, even with these instant ones, not Teferi's Protection, but these Heroic Intervention, Root Board Defenses, I think it's make a stand in Oath of the Gatewatch. you can play this and then go nuts with your enraged triggers for that turn. Teferi's Protection, of course, will make it so that the enraged triggers don't actually happen. Another really good, effectively giving indestructible to our creatures for incremental damage is Rite of Passage, which is just so perfect for this deck. It's ridiculous. Soul of New Phyrexia, you can tutor up with Court of Calling, Signal of the Clans, Green Sun Zenith, etc. It's still really expensive. I feel like I want to cast a dinosaur with that much mana. So it's probably going to get cut here. But I definitely like Titanic Ultimatum for the deck. I don't know, that might be a little too high end, honestly. Definitely like Domri Raid for the deck. Definitely like Watley Dinosaur Knight for the deck. I want so many of these win more cards in here, it's ridiculous. But if it's not enabling our strategy, it detracts from the consistency of the deck. So I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to run Domri as potential card draw and removal, and I'm going to run Watley as a way to grow my creatures and removal. And she's easily tutored with one of our dinosaurs. Tutored 4? I don't know. And then we've got Regal Behemoth. We've got the Mirrors, Ranging Raptors. Those are musts because they act as both dinosaurs and mana ramp. Got Thundering Spineback. Raging Swordtooth is an Enrage Enabler and dinosaur. Got Bellowing Aegisaur, which is a Enrage payoff. So on Blessed Mounts, searches up our tutor, or tutors up our Planeswalker. Goring Ceratops works really well with Gishath. Awakening Sun's Avatar is removal plus dinosaur. Snapping Sailback. Removal, dinosaur, and Enrage synergy. Regisaur Alpha, just haste enabler and value dinosaur. Torian Mauler isn't going to make the cut in this deck. I've got too many good dinosaurs to really worry about that guy. Ripjaw Raptor, on the other hand, so good. Card draw, Rage Enabler, great dinosaur. Suncrown Hunter's going to make the cut. Raptor Hatchling is really kind of iffy. Verdant Sun's Avatar. Siegehorn Ceratops, I like. Frilled Dinosaur is a maybe. Burning Sun's Avatar, I want to put in the deck, but is kind of a maybe. Raging Regisaur is a must. Regisaur Beta is probably not going to make the cut. Cacophodon, I'm going to have to practice saying that name, is certainly going in the deck. Overgrown Armasaur is not. Thrashing Bronzodon is. Needletooth Raptor is. Silverclad Ferocidons is a must. Temple Altasaur is a must. Imperial Ceratops is a must, because when we've got Pyrohemia going, that's pinging us as well. That's taking out our life. So being able to gain back that life and then some with Imperial Ceratops is going to make it so that our life total doesn't limit our ability to get our incremental damage. And of course, Rampaging Ferocidon. There's also Kinjali's Kite Wing. Is a really good meta dinosaur, much like Rampaging Ferocidon. That one's particularly good when you're facing off against a lot of token decks, a lot of decks where your opponent just floods the board and then grants haste and then kills you in one turn. That makes it so that you have time to respond via sorcery speed removal. I don't face that a lot in my meta, so I'm not going to run Kinjali Sunwing, but keep that in mind if you do have a play group where they do that very frequently, you will want to have Kinjali Sunwing in your deck. So, question is, do I want Regisaur Alpha in this deck? I feel like I do, but at the same time, I feel like he's just going to die too quick with all my incremental damage. Maybe he's not good enough for this deck. And I hate saying that because I love that card, but it doesn't quite mesh with the strategy. Alright, so how many dinosaurs do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 that I'd kind of consider must-haves for the deck. We had 27 card slots, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 win more cards. I can put one more dinosaur in. Really, I need to have more dinosaurs to take advantage of the synergies, the dinosaur tribal synergies of the deck. So I'm going to have to whittle down some other stuff to put more dinosaurs in. Having just 16 dinosaurs is not enough. I'll never get anything off of Gishath's ability with just 16 dinosaurs in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, what to cut? What to cut? What to cut? Let's make a pile out of these. Okay, so I'm at 61 now. I definitely need to make room for more dinosaurs. So first thing we're going to do is look at the win more cards, because realistically, win more cards, while they're cute, they tend to be cute, they are not they're not what we're looking for. Harbinger of the Hunt is cute as a card, but if we're just looking for repeatable enrage triggers on a creature, we have Forerunner of the Empire. So Forerunner of the Empire makes it so that we don't need Harbinger of the Hunt. It's cut. Gone. Next up, Pyrohemia's Sting. Rite of Passage is staying. Do we want to keep Watley Dinosaur Knights? Fairy's Protection is staying. Shielded by Faith, Kindred Boon, staying. Rootborn Defenses and Domary Raid are cards that we could potentially cut. I'm going to keep Heroic Intervention in the deck. What would I put in place of... This is always the hardest part, trying to figure out what to cut to make sure that you have enough room to really maximize your strategies. Domri Raid, Rootborn Defenses, and Watley Dinosaur Knight means that we'll wind up cutting Watley's Sun Blessed Mount. Now the problem, and depending on how you look at it, but the problem with some of our dinosaurs that could potentially be really good in the deck, some of our lower curve dinosaurs, Raptor Hatchling, Frilled Deathspitter, Needletooth Raptor, are that unless we have some way to give them indestructible, which right now we're running 3 cards that grant indestructibility, they're not going to survive our incremental damage. So in that circumstance, I really don't want to run them. They're just too situational. I have 4 card slots open in the deck right now. The question is, do I have 4 dinosaurs I want to put in the deck? Raging Swordtooth is fine as an enrage enabler, so he can go in the deck. Do I want to put Regisaur Alpha in the deck? Kind of going back and forth on Regisaur Alpha here. He's so good in Limited. He's so good in Standard. But is he what I need in... Let's see. I'm going to take a look at the mirrors now and see what I can copy to get really good value out of the mirrors and what really isn't going to be great with the mirrors. And basically, stuff with really good enrage triggers is good with the mirrors, or maybe repeatable enrage enablers like Raging Regisaur. Kofodon is good for the mirrors. Silverclad Ferocidons. Mirrors with Temple Ultisaur make it so that they both only take 1 damage from our effects. Okay, so the mirrors really only would benefit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Benefit us with 8 of our dinosaurs right now. That's just not good enough to run in the deck. Not enough synergy there. And this is the major issue with running a dinosaur deck, is I have to choose between putting really high cost, relatively subpar dinosaurs into the deck, or putting really low to the ground, efficient, non-dinosaur answers into the deck. So, All right, let's nix Breath of Daragaz and Incendiary Command. Even though I hate the idea of running into a Maze of Ith, it's just a little situational. We're going to nix those 2. And just focus on getting creature-based Enrage Enablers. I'm going to have a ton of Enrage Enablers. Like, that's That's something that there's no shortage of in Magic, EDH, and in this deck so far. So I'm going to have the ability to trigger Enrage on my 8 or so enraged creatures. Going back to the Winmore cards, though, Aggravated Assault, see the Unwritten, Overwhelming Stampede, Titanic Ultimatum, Samut, Island Core, Duelist Heritage. I'd rather run those cards over Thundering Spineback, the Mirrors, Regisaur Alpha, Goring Ceratops, Burning Sun's Avatar, and these dinosaurs are garbage. Regisaur Beta and Overgrown Armasaur just have no place in this deck. I'm cutting them right now because they're not even in contention. They're not even in contention. Raptor Hatchling. Needletooth Raptor and Frilled Death Spitter have the potential to be really good in a dinosaur deck, but I don't think I'm going to run them. So let's see what I got here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got room for 6 cards in the deck right now. I'm going to skip ahead and check out the mana curve, see how this is looking. Let's see. And if I find that the mana curve's too high, if it's too low, if there's one particular mana cost that just really I won't have enough cards to play on curve, then that's probably where I'm going to focus adding cards to. And of course, there's X spells. I'm going to put those in a separate pile, as always. They're anything I need them to be. One size fits all. I'm going to put Reforge the Soul in for its miracle cost, because the majority of the time, that's when you will be playing it for 2 mana. Same thing goes for Thunderherd Migration. Even though I don't have as many dinosaurs as I'd like right now, that my goal is to change that by the time I wrap this video. See, the mana ramp really fills out the lower end of the curve, and then the creatures wind up, and the removal too, the creatures wind up filling out the higher end of the curve. I'm going to put that Slice and Dice in the 3 spot because it is typically, I prefer to play it for its cycling cost. So that's where I will play it most often. Same thing goes for Savage Stomp. I will be paying 1 mana for it most of the time. Okay, my mana curve is looking better than I expected for a dinosaur deck, and that's saying something. When it comes to 1-drops, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 1-drops. When it comes to 2-drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 2-drops. Okay, it's a little concerning. When it comes to 3-drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 2-drop or 3-drops. That's kind of where you want to live in EDH. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4-drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-drops. 3 6-drops. 1 7. 1 8. Okay, so I'm a little bit low on 2-drops. Otherwise, I think I have a good mana curve. So, what was I looking at as a potential 2-drop spell? Nothing I think is good enough, honestly. Mirror of the Forebearers, maybe, but that's about it. Frankly, I'd rather have Mirage Mirror than Mirror of the Forebearers because I can at least copy my opponent's best stuff. Or copy my indestructible enchantments. So I'd rather have Mirage Mirror in the deck. In fact, I'm going to put that in the deck right now. I've got 5 open card slots available. Mirage Mirror is definitely going in. Thundering Spineback. Yeah, he's not good enough. I'd rather play some other tribal, like coat of arms or something, than Thundering Spineback in EDH. So of the 3 7-drops that I could potentially put in the deck, for instance, Avatar is probably the best. Oh, you know what I don't have for the deck yet, but I will definitely be picking up is the red Elder Dragon would be really good in this. In fact, not Elder Dragon, Elder Dinosaur. All the Elder Dinosaurs would be good in this that are in Naya colors. Well, since I don't have it here today, I'm going to round out my deck with just some general stuff and probably put the Elder Dinosaurs in here for the last couple card slots. So with the general good stuff that I'm putting in the deck right now, I forget it. I'll put Watley, Sunblessed Mount, Domary Raid, and Breath of Daragaz back in the deck. And I'm going to run it like this, probably pick up the Elder Dinosaurs and swap out some of these cards and go from there. So that's our final deck for Gishath Sun's Avatar. We've got a good balance of removal, card draw, mana ramp spells, but most importantly, I think, is the versatility of the dinosaurs in our value engine. We've got dinosaurs that will act as removal, we've got dinosaurs that will act as mana ramp, we have dinosaurs that will act as card draw. If you enjoyed our content, look us up on YouTube. It's Metagame Mastery. And if you like our videos, please remember to like, share, subscribe. In the coming weeks, we will have a deck tech of this video once I've had a chance to play test and polish it a little bit more. In the meantime, thank you and have a great day.